Let me introduce our second speaker, who will delve deeper into the art of storytelling in a digitized world. Please welcome, all the way from Hong Kong, Pushkar Sane, co-founder and CEO of Convergination Ventures, which is a consulting and technology firm enabling organizations win and retain customers through digitization of businesses. Pushkar has been in the digital space for over 30 years now and specializes in understanding people and businesses and builds solutions that help solve real life problems. He helps marketeers navigate the digitized world and create ideas that build brand value. In his free time, he also likes to read, travel, listen to music, and watch sports. Joining him on stage for a fireside chat after his keynote address will be Pooja Singh, Head of Public Relations at Allcargo Logistics. Pushkar, the stage is yours.
Good morning. When Amit first said that come and do a keynote at Quorum, he didn't tell me two things. That I'll be the guy standing between you and the tea, and I'll go after Sunita. Okay, so this is a difficult wicket to bat now that she has kind of scored a triple century here, but I'll do my best. So this is a T20 match, 20 minutes I get to bat, and after 20 minutes, I'll field some questions. So let's get started. There are 4 areas in which I'll kind of highlight understanding decoding of digitization and its impact on storytelling, looking at ecosystem of storytelling, different components, and then finally, what each one of you can do by embracing storytelling. Okay? So today we live in a world and digitization has accelerated this, that everything is picture perfect. We don't have any bad pictures on Instagram. Okay, our vacations are perfect, our office parties are perfect. If somebody takes a bad picture, we make sure that we have enough filters to make it look beautiful. So the sense that we are creating is that the world is all beautiful. There are no bad pictures, there are no bad moments. So what it is doing is actually exponentially increasing expectations from everything that we do, whether our brand interactions, whether our office interactions, and that's kind of putting a lot of pressure. We are more aware, we have access to more information, everything is on our fingertips, but we are more anxious. So anxiety is amplified now in every walk of life. If you have a doctor friend, go and ask them. You know, my very, very good friend of mine is kind of in the business of medicine for 25 years. One thing that he fears most is the 2 hours of consulting that he does in the evening. He's not scared of doing complicated surgeries, anything, because what he says is that now patients come and they say, I've got this, I've got that, I've got that. They've already read it on Google. And if you tell them, no, reports don't show, they say, no, you're wrong. Google data shows that it is correct. So those 2 hours are the most complicated hours of his day. He's otherwise all right. What it is also doing is causing dissonance. So every time we buy a product, 3 months later, we are not happy with that car. We are not happy with that vacation home, the hotel room. We are not happy with those upgrades because it's causing a lot of dissonance because everything is exponentially going up. And then there is general outrage everywhere on social media. As in left, right, center, whatever, everybody is outraging on something or the other, and sometimes without verifying. Because you wake up and you realize, with no offense meant to them, but you realize those WhatsApp uncles and aunties that kind of bombard you with completely unverified conspiracy theories, spreading it every day, and that is making people really, really outrageous. And reels are the biggest part of our communication. People are going to any extent to record most dangerous moments because they're making money. More views, more followers on Instagram and YouTube, you're making more money, and hence you'll stand up on a cliff, you'll stand up on a building top, and you'll try to do a selfie, try to record a reel, and there are all sorts of reels that are taking place. Now, this is a very, very dangerous trend, and it's kind of accelerating. How many of you talk about something on your mobile conversations, or when your Alexa is on, and very next moment, next day, you start getting some ads from Google, Facebook, Apple? Well, they all say, we don't listen to you. Okay, we respect your privacy, but then all the ads start coming. So my son does this, he's 14 years old. He does this all the time. He says, okay, I want to confuse your phone tomorrow. Then he'll talk random things in front of Alexa, and next day my feed is like all random. He's like, how was your day today? I'm like, okay, I'm switching that off. When we talked about when I was growing up, our teachers, specifically language teachers, were so particular that they would kind of go to any extent of giving punishments to get our grammar right, get our language right. But this is the language that we are going to have. It's already gone to this stage. We are going to have a language which is universally accepted, understood, with lots of emojis, emoticons, slangs. So there is no longer a perfect English, perfect Mandarin, perfect Hindi. We'll all be a mixed up language. And that's how people are communicating. How many of you are on your phones? You can continue to be on your phone. That's the reality. But that is what compulsive connectivity. No matter, even if you meet, I live in Hong Kong, you meet someone in the lift lobby, first reaction is, how are you? Very busy. That is how people respond. So that's our reality. And when people say attention is in deficit or attention is not there, I have another hypothesis based on data. Actually, attention is in inflation. People are paying more attention only to things that matter to them. So if they're not paying attention to you, that means you're not really connecting, but otherwise they're paying super solid attention to what matters to them on their phones, on their devices. So with that, this is the landscape of digitization which has changed our behavior. As in, it's not like we are going backwards anytime in the near future. So what is the ecosystem of storytelling? How many of you have heard this concept of 1990? Okay. So let me explain. There are only 1% people who create or curate any kind of stories. Okay, out of which 0.1 actually create, 0.9 curate. Means they take stories from other places, make them look like their own, and morph it to put it out. Okay, so these are the original story creators or curators, tiny minority, actually. The guys who make stories travel and make stories successful are the guys who actually circulate stories. Okay, so these are the gatekeepers. These are the guys, before we finish doing this conference, they would have tweeted 20 articles from Economist, Financial Times, Economic Times to make the world look, I know it all. But you need them. You might be a brilliant story creator, but if these guys don't take your story to the world, your story has no meaning. So they are equally important in that ecosystem because they take your stories to the world. And the third, 90% people, and many people tend to say that these are the lazy guys. No, they're not. They're actually consuming and critiquing those stories. In today's day and age, when we don't like a story, we don't like a video, in a closed group, open group, we have an easy way to critique. Earlier, when we read a book and we didn't like it, unless you kind of went to crosswords and told them that I didn't like it and really gave a bad review somewhere, nobody cared. Now you put it on Goodreads, you put it on various other platforms, and people know that you liked it or not. So these are the guys actually making the storytelling better because they are giving a real-time feedback loop. So now let's look at what are the different components of storytelling? So when you look at credibility, Sunita talked about credibility. Credibility is the single most important thing in storytelling. So say, for example, if someone talks about technology, I talk about technology or sports or business and marketing, a lot of people will believe it. If I start talking about fashion, I don't think I'll believe it myself, as in, I have zero credibility in that area. So you always need to have credibility when you are telling a story and what story you are telling on that topic. Second component is curiosity, and which is a component that people dearly lack today's day and age, because they've outsourced that curiosity to Google and Facebook. Okay? They're just not being curious in terms of observing what is happening around us. Everything that comes from Google or Facebook or WhatsApp, they start believing it. So this curiosity is extremely important when you are crafting stories. Context. Context matters a lot. A lot of times things are quoted out of context, stories are circulated out of context without giving full details, and it's becoming easier and easier with the technology that I can simply take any face, any video, and actually morph it with all sorts of voiceovers, replicating your voice and put something out of context, and deepfake can be generated. So this context matters a lot. And fourth thing is complexity. How complex your story is to understand depends on the audience. So I'm going to show you one example. This is not as complex as Mr. Tharoor, but quite complex. So if you can just read these few lines, for the people at the back, it says, in the event of affection being extended to the undersigned, it is requested that the canine companion of the same shall be treated with similar preferential treatment. Can anyone tell me what this means? Any brave person? Pet? Yeah. So, love me, love my dog. If it was Chetan Bhagat, he would write like this. 200 years back, when the British were in India, I found a book on the footpaths of VT. Many years back, they used to write letters like this. Is there all the time? That story, art of writing was there. People would write long letters. Now, if it's generation here, they will write LMLMD. Okay? Next generation would simply put this. And now we are all living in the age of data science and AI and all the smart tool, and they will simply write LM squared delta. So complexity and what people understand will depend on who your audience is. So Mr. Tharoor might understand that, but most people would kind of say, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Okay, so let's look at embracing storytelling, what each one of you can do. Practice and more practice. Okay, 22 years back when I first moved to Hong Kong, Indian boy in Hong Kong, Chinese restaurants, first thing they gave me a chopsticks and there were some peanuts. And those peanuts were flying everywhere, and my colleagues were all kind of quite amused that being in Bombay, I never knew how to use chopsticks. Those days, our restaurants didn't really have chopsticks over here. I just bought a packet of peanuts and practiced whole Saturday to kind of make sure Monday morning when I went out with them for lunch, I could pick up those peanuts. There was no other shortcut. So only way you can do better storytelling is tell the story. There's no shortcut. Authenticity. Everything will be kind of fine-tuned by AI. Okay, so you get the most perfect essays. No meaning. It's better to make mistakes, better to have, things which are not perfect in your storytelling. But that needs to be authentic. Otherwise, people kind of stop believing what you're saying. Less stunts and more magic. Stunts are, you do it once. How many of you remember Ice Bucket Challenge? Yeah? Who created it? ALS. Who created the first video? Nobody knows. So it was a stunt that came, went away. It kind of raised that awareness, but now people are not even talking about ALS. Nobody really cares. And finally, managing risk. So if I ask you to walk on a rope which is tied up on two mountains, most people wouldn't do that without support and suspended support somewhere. But if I ask you to walk on a rope over here at this height, they will do it. The skill of walking on that rope remains the same. What changes is the risk perception. So keep building your capability, and the risk perception will keep going down because you are very, very capable. You know that you can do it. With that, thank you very much, and I'll invite Pooja to join for the questions.
Thank you so much, Pushkar. So let's talk to people filled in this room with 1990.
Yeah.
Great. So the first question that takes me to you would be, how can brands strike the right balance between appealing to emotion and presenting facts of storytelling, knowing that, we live in a B or B2C world. It is equally difficult for people to today go ahead and talk about their story, depending on the audiences, like you said, we have. So how do we kind of balance that?
Yeah, very good question. Thanks. See, what happens is that emotions and data, a lot of times people see it as two silos, a separate kind of angles in a storytelling. It's not. Your emotions and data are integrated. Data is telling you a story, what's happening in the market, and emotions are part of that. We also have this silo of B2C and B2B. And as I was talking to you earlier, that we are not selling business to businesses also. We are finally selling to a human being. Okay, we are communicating with a human being. We have to get rid of this notion of consumer. Okay, I worked for large advertising and media firms. Clients used to brief us on target audience. They would make it look like that person had nothing better to do in life except for buying that shampoo. The whole world revolved around that, while that shampoo was the smallest part of that person's life. There was much bigger and better challenge. But every brand, every organization defines it as if this guy is my consumer, this lady is my consumer, they have nothing better to do. And this is my target audience. We talk that language as well. So I think the more we think about human beings, more we think about understanding what matters to them, the data and emotions, they work together actually. They are not separate.
So it's B to human and not B to B, neither B to C.
And it's actually not even B to human, it's human to human.
It's human to human.
Because at the B side of it is also humans doing the marketing or connecting, right? So more we take human-centric approach, it is better.
Wow, that's interesting. So my next question to you would be, how do you ensure your story, in that case, remains culturally relevant and avoids any unintended bias, knowing we are in a country which is filled with various culture?
I don't think, honest answer is that I don't think you can be completely removed from the bias. Okay? No matter what all we say, and we say we are neutral, we all have our confirmation biases. Okay? And whether we are approving creative, we are drafting stories, we are always thinking of some biases which are coming in. Now, what you need to ensure is that you need to put yourself outside of that situation as a decision maker and see the people who are going to actually buy your products or buy your story and what their cultural context is. Okay? Because a lot of times in a country like India or any other country in Asia as well, it's very diverse. When people say North is a Hindi speaking belt, it can't be far removed from reality. As in, there are lots of versions of Hindi. Bihar behaves very differently than Western Uttar Pradesh, and it will behave very differently than Madhya Pradesh, and metros versus non-metros. So there are a lot of issues like that. So what you need to also understand while drafting stories is that while you can't avoid biases, a lot of times, unless it is a deliberate brand attempt to be controversial, where you can take on certain cultural notions and challenge them either in a controversial way or to be in the news cycle, you always need to be mindful of the local culture, local ethos, local things. So you don't go around doing things which are kind of offensive to people. So say for example, typically in the Middle East, if you're doing any kind of communication, you will, and if it is done, like for example, I'll give you an example just now. There is a huge crisis unfolding in Gaza. When Ramadan was happening in the Middle East, quite a few brands stayed away from showing food and celebration and family togetherness and happiness in their advertising, because just across the border, a few thousand miles away from where they were, there was a humanitarian crisis unfolding where children were not getting food. So that is being culturally sensitive. Uh, some brand can think that, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm marketing in Dubai. Dubai is full of people celebrating Ramadan after sunset. I'll show something. But more culturally sensitive brands actually stayed away from that because of that reason, and that is how you would look at it.
That's a good takeaway for all of us. Since you've highlighted on technology and how important it is, and can you add on what is the future that you see in storytelling and the role of technology?
I would say technology is an enabler. Technology cannot run everything. I'll give you an example. Recently, we went to summer recruitment placement at one of the premier business schools in India. We purposefully gave them erroneous, flawed data set. And there is one question that I have been researching for 20 years. I always ask this in interviews. I always ask in one-on-one interactions. And I would like you to think about it. What will happen to you if all things digital and technology disappear tomorrow morning when you wake up? What will happen to you as an individual? Okay, think about it. Now, I asked the same question in that process. Out of 100 people who submitted their answers, 75 students actually simply put this into ChatGPT. Okay? ChatGPT gave exactly same answers. They copy pasted and put it. ChatGPT didn't understand flaws in the data set, so they actually calculated the answer and gave it, because ChatGPT works on input. So technology can be a great enabler, but you can't outsource your intelligence if you don't know what to input. So how many of you will be okay to have artificial love, artificial food, artificial clothing, artificial homes?
We are still human to human.
Yeah, but we are wanting artificial intelligence. So again, use technology. I'm a big believer. I work in the tech field. Use technology. So there are certain things that will get automated. So for example, if you are doing a car video, by providing input to technology, it can generate a very good montage of video. But what to provide is again a human input. So you can get 20 different copywriting options crafted by the machine, but what prompts to provide is again your input. So that creativity will still remain. The production aspect of it, technology will accelerate, and it will kind of take it to the next level.
Wow. If there's one storytelling principle or a tip that you'd like the audience to take away, what would it be?
I would say not one, but there are many. But fundamental thing is be iterative. You will never get it right in the first time. We have so much emphasis on being perfect and getting it right that we often don't take that step. Okay? So there is nothing, I've been doing this for ages, and I work in the digital business. and technology business, there are 100 things I don't know every day. Okay? And my goal is how can I get to knowing 50 more, 70 more, right? But things keep changing. And the only way to survive is being iterative and constantly learning new things. So I think try. If it succeeds, good enough, build on that. If it fails, take lessons, move on. So there is too much of, we all say very nice, failure is great and all that, but how many organizations actually promote brand managers who fail? I give 3 failed campaigns, boss will be, agency fails 3 times. So it's nice statement, but nobody. But I would say that at the end of the day, we have to, unless you experiment, you're never going to take that first step. So I've made a lot of mistakes. So I've, kind of tried, didn't work, tried a different way. So that is the only way you can move forward.
Where I read this somewhere that great stories happen to those who can tell them. So don't stop telling stories and don't be afraid of the failure.
Yeah.
So thank you, Pushkar. Amit, we are in time, so we can definitely take some questions from the audience, please.
For entry-level communicators, what is your key advice?
Actually, entry-level communicators are full of ideas. Okay? So, what I've seen over the years across markets, across industries, that entry-level guys are full of ideas. The senior guys are full of approving ideas. They're ready. The guys in the middle are constantly blocking. And we all have been there somewhere in that pipeline, right? The reason for that is guys in the middle are actually measured on very different KPIs. They have day-to-day businesses to run, performance to deliver. So the guy on the top says, let's get it done. Guy at the bottom is in a utopian stage, just out of the college, wanting to do different things. So actually, my thinking is put the guy at the entry level in a decision-making scenario. Okay? So when Amit and I used to work in Starcom many, many years back, I was running the digital business and I set up their social media practice globally when nobody was talking about social media. Our foundational thing was that we had something called reverse mentoring. So we had the junior most guy who was super savvy on digital, doing new things, actually teach our general managers how to do things. Okay? And we actually conducted classes as well as got them into meetings where general managers didn't present, but the entry-level guy was taking a lead with the client. General manager was just there to support, give the air cover on commercial terms. But ideas were all coming from bottom up. Because these guys are on the forefront of technology. In fact, they have a lot of new ideas. They know the apps and the tools that the middle and senior layer won't even get to. They know how it's working. So I think if you put them in charge, your growth within the organization, how you communicate changes dramatically. We have to channelize it because sometimes some ideas are great, sometimes some ideas are commercially not viable or organizationally not viable. But still, I would highly recommend the guys who are freshers, absolutely new, don't come with baggage.
This room is full of that, I guess. So you
As
guys
in,
don't have to stop, okay?
They don't come with baggage.
True.
Which is true. And all of us, as we grow in the organization, have our own biases, filters, baggages that we carry, that this client won't do this guy won't do this media organization won't publish a story like this. All that actually reduces our chances of doing great work.
So I'm Nandini, I'm from
Hi,
Blue
Nandini.
Ink, we had spoken earlier.
Yeah.
So I have an interesting question because you deal in the world of data and you spoke about storytelling, right? Where do you think the more powerful stories are? Are they in the data or are they in the lived experience of humans?
Lived experiences.
How does
That lived experience actually is generating data. Data is what we are tracking at scale, what each of the experiences are. So when people say big data, we also tell clients AI, big data. If we don't tell that, we won't get the business, okay? We won't even get invited to have that discussion. So we tell. But I have two beliefs that I'm going to put it out over here. A, I don't think there is real AI anywhere because mathematical model of intelligence is not known yet. We don't even know how insects work. You know, forget human intelligence. Second thing, in terms of experiences and data, if your one unit level data, small data, is in good shape, then big data becomes reliable, big data matters, right? If your entry level data, one unit level data is all garbage, then big data is you are efficiently processing garbage. It's finally going to stink at some point in time, okay? So it's always the live human experiences that are more important because they generate data. Data is, we are just accumulating those stories, accumulating those experiences to see it in a pattern and then try and make a meaning out of it. A lot of times people only depend on X percentage went up and percentage went down and sideways or whatever. But finally, human experiences, whether in marketing, advertising, communication, even in real life interpersonal exchanges, it's about the experiences, how people communicate and connect with each other. They're not numbers. We turn them into numbers so that we can analyze things. But at the core of it, we'll always look at the human expression.
Thank you.
Emoticons, basically.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Pushkar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pushkar, for the informative session, and thank you, Pooja, for the conversation. I request Pooja to present Pushkar with a Sparkle collaborative gift card for the NGO Can Support.